Conway, if you had it to do all over again, would you change your life in any way?
I think I'd do it exactly the same way.
You a happy man?
I sure am.
Conway Twitty was a country music legend with 40 top hits, second only to George Strait. Known as the High Priest of country music, his partnership with Loretta Lynn was iconic, producing hits and albums that fans loved. Twitty, who also dabbled in rock and roll, had a style that made him super popular, but kept some traditional fans at a distance. Despite his success, he's not always mentioned among the all-time greats. Reasons include his early death at 59, some of his risque songs, and difficulties in accessing his music due to it being out of print. Moreover, after he passed, a legal battle over his estate scattered his assets, affecting his legacy.
Conway died without having changed his will to include Dee, his widow.
Twitty's story is a mix of fame, music, and challenges. Harold Lloyd Jenkins, better known as Conway Twitty, was born on September 1st, 1933, in a small town in Mississippi.
What do your friends and relatives call you?
They call me Conway.
Do they?
Yeah, it took a long time for me to get used to that. Even my mother calls me that.
Really?
And when my real name's Harold Jenkins.
Do you turn around when they say Harold?
Yeah, it kind of sounds strange. The name came from Conway, Texas, or Conway, Arkansas, and Twitty, Texas.
Music and church were big deals in his home. By the time he was 12, he was living in Arkansas and jamming with a group called the Phillips County Ramblers. As a teenager, he even gave sermons at church, proving he had a natural talent for captivating people. Besides music, Harold was pretty good at baseball and got noticed by the Philadelphia Phillies right out of high school, but his plans took a detour when he joined the U.S. Army and served overseas. Even in the Army, he found time for music, playing in a band called the Cimarrons. After his service, the Phillies wanted him back, but Harold had a new dream: to become a rock and roll star like Elvis Presley. He headed to Memphis, aiming for Sun Studios, the hotspot for rock and roll. However, the studio's focus on rhythm and blues clashed with Harold's country style. He did get to record there, but none of his own singles came out, except a song he wrote that Roy Orbison ended up singing. Harold hung out and played in the Memphis clubs, even sharing stages with Elvis. In 1957, he decided to change his name to Conway Twitty.
And your name is actually Conway Twitty?
No, that's a stage name. I got that name from the map of the United States back in 1957. Real name's Harold Jenkins.
Initially, he thought about using Conway for rock songs and Harold Jenkins for country tunes. Eventually, he chose to be Conway Twitty through and through, setting the stage for his future fame. Conway Twitty first rocked the charts as a rock and roll singer, especially with the smash hit It's Only Make Believe in 1958. This song zoomed to the top because it sounded a lot like Elvis, fooling some fans into thinking it was the King himself singing. Conway also made waves with tunes like Danny Boy and Lonely Blue Boy, which even Elvis sang in a movie. Despite his rock success, Conway, who had thought about being a preacher, wasn't too keen on the wild rock and roll lifestyle. So, in the middle of a 1965 concert in New Jersey, he decided he'd had enough and switched to country music, setting up shop in Oklahoma City instead of the expected Nashville. Signing with Decca Records in 1966, Conway started his country career with a bit of a cold welcome, since he was known as a rock guy, but he broke through with Next in Line in 1968, his first country #1. Hits like I Love You More Today and To See My Angel Cry followed, and then Hello Darlin' in 1970 sealed the deal.
I want you more than anything in the world.
Conway Twitty wasn't just a country singer, he was a country superstar. Like Elvis, Conway Twitty used a bit of charm and sly winks in his songs to draw fans in. But since he was in the country scene, he had to be a bit sneakier with his lyrics. His song, You've Never Been This Far Before in 1973, stirred up some drama for being too cheeky, with some radio folks refusing to play it. But as often happens, the buzz only made the song more popular, and it soared to the top of the charts for 3 weeks. Conway's kinda cool, slightly naughty image was a hit, especially when he teamed up with Loretta Lynn. Loretta was all about strong country vibes and not putting up with nonsense from men, making them a powerhouse duo. They scooped up awards left and right, ruling the country music duet scene. Conway didn't just have a bunch of top hits. His career spanned decades, making him a lasting star in country music. When Crazy in Love hit number 2 in 1990, it showed Conway was still a big deal, keeping up his streak of hits across 4 decades. By the 1980s, Conway Twitty was sitting pretty with plenty of hits and money. He decided to build Twitty City, not just as a home, but as a place for fans to celebrate his music and legacy, much like Elvis did with Graceland. This was his way of leaving a mark that fans could visit and remember him by. Before Twitty City became a thing, Conway Twitty already had big dreams beyond his music. In 1968, with some big hits under his belt, Conway decided to share his love for a unique burger he created, called the Twitty Burger. This wasn't just any burger, it had a juicy patty, crispy bacon, mayo, and a bun. But the twist? A slice of pineapple covered in graham cracker crumbs on top, making it a standout in the fast food world. It was so unique, even Elvis's famous peanut butter and banana sandwich couldn't compete. The Twitty Burger adventure didn't end well. Despite the buzz around its unique recipe, the burger joint struggled and shut down by 1971. Conway Twitty admitted he was better at making music than running a burger business, saying, "What I know about is how to make records and how to sing songs, and I'm not too good at anything else, and Twitty Burger is a prime example." Yet, Twitty Burger left a mark in a way Conway hadn't imagined, through a court battle with the IRS that Twitty won. The IRS was not happy about Conway writing off money he paid back to his friends who invested in Twitty Burger on his taxes. In 1973 and 1974, he claimed about $97,000 as a business loss, even though it was tied to the burger venture and not his music. Conway felt he had to pay back his investors to keep his good name in music. He argued that not paying them back would hurt his reputation, so it made sense to consider these repayments as a business expense related to his music career. This was a big deal because Conway had already navigated a tricky transition from rock and roll to country music. Winning this case against the IRS was another unexpected twist in Conway Twitty's eventful life. Conway Twitty really believed in doing right by his friends. When his restaurant idea, Twitty Burger, didn't work out, he felt it was his duty to give back the money to those who had invested in his dream. He said they trusted in him, and he couldn't let them down, even if the business flopped. The IRS, however, saw things differently. They argued that the money lost on Twitty Burger had nothing to do with Conway's music career, so he shouldn't be able to write off those losses on his taxes. Conway didn't back down, though, and took the matter to court in 1982. In a big win for Conway in 1983, the court agreed with him, saying that for a country music artist, reputation is everything. Keeping a good name was crucial, and paying back his investors was part of maintaining his image. The case, known as Jenkins versus Commissioner, became a big deal for entertainers everywhere, showing that reputation costs could be considered legitimate business expenses. But there's a fun twist. The court added a special touch by including a song in their ruling, Ode to Conway Twitty, summarizing the whole story in verse. This wasn't just a win for Conway, it set a precedent in tax law, highlighting how important an entertainer's reputation is to their career. Conway Twitty, a country music legend, passed away suddenly on June 5, 1993, at the age of 59. The day before, while performing in Branson, Missouri, he got really sick during his show. He eventually collapsed on his tour bus, and the bus driver rushed him to a hospital in Springfield, Missouri. There, doctors tried emergency surgery but knew his chances were slim, so they called his family to be by his side. In a strange twist of fate, Loretta Lynn, Conway's longtime music partner and friend, was at the same hospital. She was there for her husband, Doolittle, who was also very ill. Loretta was shocked to see Conway brought in. She spent her time running back and forth between her husband and staying with Conway's wife and his band. She described it as one of the hardest things she ever had to go through. Loretta, who was with her husband at the time, was heartbroken when she heard the news about Conway. Conway Twitty, a legend, has passed away from this world, but his legacy will live on forever.